This Week in Startups is brought to you by Squarespace. Start building your website today at squarespace.com. Enter offer code TWIST at checkout to get 10% off. And Walker Corporate Law, a boutique law firm specializing in the representation of entrepreneurs. Visit them at walkercorporatelaw.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis. This is the show where we talk about entrepreneurship, angel investing, technology, and the future. Super excited about today's guest because Brit Morin, like Lauren, is the founder of Brit Co. You may recognize that last name because she's married to a frequent guest on this show, Dave Morin, who is a venture capitalist at Slow Ventures and did Path, and before that was at Facebook. But this show is not about Dave, who I think at this point is probably a stay-at-home dad. I think he does like one investment every 3 or 4 months. I mean, he's got the
That's what VCs get to do. You hit it the one time and you're good.
You hit it one time and you're good. But Brit is hard at work. All of you know Brit Co. It's a DIY network media company, product company. She's raised tens of millions of dollars for the company. She has, I think, close to 100 employees, if not more now. Runs a festival every year for these DIY crazed people, and 15,000 people, I believe, came to the last one, something in that range. Did a deal with Target. She's on the Today Show. Sometimes people call her the Martha Stewart or the next generation Martha Stewart, and I'm curious, Brit, first, welcome to the program. And is that annoying when people say, like, oh my God, she's the next gen Martha Stewart?
It was funny. I was recently at a dinner with Mark Zuckerberg, who introduced me like that, and I was like, oh God, it's made it to that level now. But I don't think of myself like Martha Stewart because Brit Co. is meant to be about inclusivity of this community. The Co. stands for community.
Right.
It's like hundreds of women who have their own specialties and baking and interior decor and calligraphy and photography and coding. And so they're all teachers along with me. Exactly. Yeah.
But the fair part about that analogy is the company does work in the craft and cooking and that sort of same lifestyle. What do they call lifestyle space?
Lifestyle, yeah. What's interesting, though, is creativity spans every category. So we were just talking about how to put on your makeup, right?
Yes.
It's art. Like you're using gradients and shadows and all kinds of things.
It really is.
Most women are very intimidated by it. Cooking is an art as well.
Sure.
Interior decor is an art. There's colors and textiles and architecture. But so are things like Photoshop, and graphic design and a lot of the new technologies that a lot of women today are learning and wanting to pursue. So it's very tech forward, but also very analog. It's not just one woman teaching everything. It's a community of women teaching everything. And the business model is like Martha Stewart, where it's media and merchandising now. So we do have that at play.
Now, you people may or may not know this. And what I have to say, one of the things I love about you is you're authentically into this stuff.
I'm obsessed with this stuff.
Yeah. So I think there might be a perception that you picked this because you thought it was a good business. But in fact, this was your passion.
Yeah.
And then you made it into a business. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I was working at Google before this.
For Marissa Mayer, right?
For Marissa, yeah. And then I moved over.
I got a couple questions about that, by the way.
She's an angel investor now in Brit Co. But within Google, I moved into YouTube for a while, and that's where I saw the huge opportunity in media and social networking and the next generation. But then I took 6 months off, and I said, I know I want to start a company. I think it's probably an opportunity in media. What does that even mean, though? What's our mission? Why should we do this? And I just tried to understand what I would do every day if I didn't schedule myself. And I ended up at Tech Shop, which is, as you probably know, was based here in San Francisco. It just opened. It's $99 a month, and it's like a gym for making things. They have 3D printers and laser cutters and wood saws and sewing machines and screen printers. And I was in there every day, all day long, because I knew how to use computers, and these machines were all connected to computers and could fabricate anything I designed in Illustrator or Photoshop or just downloaded, in a CAD file. So what blew my mind was I was like the only woman in there. Everyone else was a man, woodworking or like 3D printing something like a robot. And I was making jewelry, and I was making decor, and I was making stuff for my wedding. I was about to get married, and all of my girlfriends were like, where did you do that? How'd you do that? I don't get it. but they were on Pinterest.
Right.
And Pinterest launched at the exact same time, and I was on it as well. And all of us, the millennial women craze to Pinterest was just like pinning everything: decor, crafts, food.
Why is that so appealing? Because for me, like the idea of pinning stuff, like I'm just like, why would you do that?
It's very aspirational. It's
what does that mean?
It's all the things that you want to do if you have the time, or they're just beautiful, or like maybe I should redecorate my living room with like multicolored pillows instead of my neutral color. I think it's a female. I don't know. There's something about it. Yeah. I know they've tried to edge into men's audiences. Hasn't worked that well. I mean, men like Dave pins like travel things and like cars and watches and stuff. But women are just all over it. But the thing about Pinterest was that like the content was leading to UGC stuff and like crappy tutorials or broken web pages.
Right.
And it was kind of like, what if we built the magazine version of Pinterest? What if we built like the high quality premier content version of everything on Pinterest? And fast forward 5 years today, we're actually the biggest publisher on Pinterest. We reach about half their audience every month.
Wow.
And we've really taken advantage of that goal.
It is kind of a growth hack, though, because if you think about this phenomenon of, I don't know if it's 80% women in terms of pinning. I'm sure in terms of looking at it, it might be more equal in terms of gender. But in terms of the pinning, Engagement. It's got to be 80 or 90% female.
I'm pretty sure it's around that. Yeah, totally.
So it is, in a way, it's almost like this early warning system. It's this way to like predict where the market is going, right?
I think so.
You can kind of study it and then build editorial based upon what's kind of bubbling up there.
Yeah, well, and I think what's fascinating, Mary Meeker in the last 2 years has actually highlighted Pinterest in her State of the Internet presentation around purchase intent compared to every other social network. So I think Pinterest has somewhere 51% purchase intent of users who are on Pinterest. They're going because they ultimately want to buy something. I'm decorating my nursery for my new child. I need ideas like what kind of crib should I buy? What kind of like nursing chair should I buy? All of these things. And I want it to stylistically look pretty. So the visual part of it is very important. But really, I'm here to shop. And I think that's what a lot of people miss about Pinterest, to people that have written it off in the last few years.
Is that the intent is that strong?
Purchased intent. And when you compare that to Snapchat or Facebook, it's Snapchat, I think it was 3%, Facebook's 11%.
Well, if you're in those networks, you're kind of catching up on your friends.
Right.
It's kind of passive, right? You're just sort of saying, you tell me what's interesting in the world.
Yeah, I mean, the ad targeting has gotten really creepily good on Facebook and Instagram.
Scary,
Sometimes I just go to Facebook to shop because I'm like, I just know they're going to give me the best shoes that I should buy, so I might as well just go to Facebook.
Well, that's because they're turning on your microphone and your phone and listening to your conversation.
At this point, I don't care anymore. I'm just like, cool, well, I need new shoes, so.
The thing I find very frustrating about it is that the people who are doing marketing with what we're calling what's called retargeting in our industry, where you do a search for a pair of shoes and then they show you the shoes everywhere you go forever.
Right.
The problem is, what if you buy the shoes? A lot of people are not turning off. So they created this new thing in retargeting. If the person gets to the checkout, then you can take them out of your retargeting group, but nobody does it.
Well, the retailers aren't giving that customer data back to Facebook. Like, that seems...
Yeah, but they can. If they want to, they can put a tracking pixel on the whatever. On the purchase and then say, stop retargeting them because I don't want to waste my money.
Yeah.
I
get hit up hard. And that's actually where I think Instagram has a lot of potential to catch up to Pinterest in terms of purchase intent. This generation of millennials and Gen Z are doing a lot of shopping on Instagram.
Are they really?
Yes.
That's fascinating.
It is this new, and it's crazy because it's so hard. You see an inspirational photo of this pretty woman in a bikini wearing cool sunglasses. She tagged those sunglasses with the brand name. You click on the brand name. You go to their Instagram page, look at all their sunglasses. You might end up clicking a totally different pair. You have to go to their profile to click out of Instagram. Like, there's so many steps. It's counterintuitive. But people are shopping through Instagram, and they're finding and discovering all kinds of new brands. And I'm pretty bullish about that platform and where it's going to continue to go.
It does seem like it seems like the replacement to the magazine ad to me, because now they have the carousel. It's beautiful photos, and you can swipe through it.
Right, the carousel's huge.
And the targeting is getting really good.
Really good.
Like at one point, I looked at these Sprinter Mercedes vans, like the like mobile office vans, or like take your family on a vacation and you got a bathroom in the back kind of thing, or whatever. And now that's all I ever see on there.
Really?
It's like Airstream Mercedes stuff. And when I see it, I'm always like, wow, that's cool. And I swipe it.
I do want to buy it. Yeah.
Which then gives them the signal to keep going.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about the maker movement. Seemed to predate sort of what you did, and you kind of got into the maker space.
Yep.
And now they've kind of collided in a way. It seems like you have these families where, yeah, maybe the boys are doing one set of making, the mom's doing another one. Is there is this all about like anti-capitalism, or is it an anti-digital in that I want to actually get back to something more pure, and instead of just wasting my time playing video games and consuming TV shows, I just want to, as a human being, feel something in my hands and feel the joy of creating something in the real world, as opposed to Farmville or leveling up in Minecraft or whatever the heck they're doing over there.
So I think there are like three different things at play here. One, for this generation, meaning largely millennials and then Gen Z, which is even more into the maker movement than millennials. They have grown up with tech and digital. So you're right. Yes, they want to get away from the screens a little bit. They want to, it's like literally in our instincts, in our, ancestry to know how to make things to survive. Like cavemen had to build homes and make food to survive. And the fact that a lot of us don't know how to make eggs when we go off to college is scary. And we want to, and it's cool to do that again. And so I do think that there's a little bit of that at play. We've also grown up in this era of big box retailers, right? When I was a kid in the 80s and 90s, it was, McDonald's, fast food, all the fast food chains. It was, all the same
mall.
Clothing brands at the mall. We all shopped at the same places. And now, because of social media, everyone wants to be different. Everyone wants to be unique. And they want to share that with other people. So I actually think the biggest trend at play here is the notion of customization and personalization. And the fact that self-manufacturing at home, whether you're printing a pair of earrings on your 3D printer. I saw you just invested in a desktop metal, which is awesome.
I was an angel investor in it.
Oh, so
Rick
cool.
Fulop was the guy who created A123 Systems, the battery pack company. And then he told me, I'm going to make a metal 3D printer. And I was like, a 3D printer that prints metal? Can I invest in that? He said, yeah, okay. If you want to, you might lose your money. I'm like, guys, it's kind of the business I'm in. Let's go.
Women wouldn't traditionally be metal workers, some are, right?
Yeah.
But if you say to them, well, you can make your own jewelry, you can make forks and spoons that have your family initials on them. You can, do all these things. It's like their mind explodes with what they can do.
I'll get you one. Do you want one of the metal 3D printers?
Yes.
All right. Emmy award-winning producer, let my executive assistant Jess know that I need Rick Fulop to send that desktop 3D metal $100,000 printer on loan for a year to Brit, and but in exchange, she's gonna just give him a link back.
I'll give some links. I'll do some links. I'll hit some links for you.
It really is about the follow back and the link back.
It is the link back, yeah. Well,
but what's interesting about what you're saying about customization is it really is a reaction in your mind to just this corporate cookie cutter mass production of stuff. And it's interesting if you look at Coachella in a way. It really is this self-expression, or Burning Man, which is kind of like the more hardcore version of Coachella. Coachella is kind of like the little easier version. But people really go there to make their outfit, to make their statement. It's artistic expression in a way.
Totally. Coachella, and it's huge with young women, right? And they're sharing everything on Instagram and everything on Snapchat. They want to be different. They want to be known that they did something in a new way that's different from their friends, that's special and unique to them. I think for gifting purposes too, it's just innate. I gave my mom, every Mother's Day, I bought her a jewelry, a necklace, whatever. One day I made her one instead. Literally every time I see her, she's wearing that necklace. There's something about the fact that you put in time to do this for me, whether you cooked something for me. I try to tell my husband this a lot. I'm like, can you please, and so it's Mother's Day, don't buy me flowers, make me a meal, put in some effort, it's the traditional husband-wife conversation. But that, that goes a long way. I think it's really meaningful human to human, interaction and connection. So there's a lot of variables at play here.
When we get back, I want to talk about, since you're uniquely plugged into this, the downside of this Instagram culture where everybody feels that they have to keep up. And, how does one manage inspiring people versus making them feel that this is a burden to have this wonderful, epic life when we get back on This Week in Startups? Hey, everybody. I want to tell you about one of my favorite services in the world, Squarespace. That's how I build all of my websites. Now, back in the day, if I wanted a beautiful website, I had to hire a designer, hire a bunch of freelancers. I'd be on Craigslist. I'd be putting out ads. I'd have to go to 10 meetings. It literally would take me months to pick somebody, months to build the website. And now we use Squarespace here at launch. And every time we do a new event, whether it's the Scale Conference or the Angel Summit, I have a website up in an hour. It takes longer for me to get the domain name redirected to the website than it does to build the website. That's how crazy awesome Squarespace is. You can make a beautiful website instantly. These are professionally designed, and it's so intuitive and so easy to use. Everybody on my team can update the website, change the website, and they're all responsive. And I know that this drives you crazy. You take out your phone, somebody sends you a link by email to go to a conference, and it doesn't work. It's broken. You have to just pinch and zoom. No, not with Squarespace. All of their templates are responsive and gorgeous on a tablet, on mobile, or on your desktop. It's state-of-the-art tech, so it's super secure and stable. You're not going to worry about your site going down. You're not going to worry about it getting hacked. It's trusted by millions. Some of the most respected brands in the world, including my own, use Squarespace. I love Squarespace. So here's your call to action. It's pretty simple. Go start your free trial today. No credit card required. And you get a free domain if you sign up for a year. That's a great deal. And when you decide to sign up for Squarespace, because it's so beautiful and so easy to use and so secure and so stable, all those great reasons, just use the offer code TWIST and you will get 10% off your first purchase. Thank you so much to my friends at Squarespace. They've been super supportive of this podcast and everything I do. We're going to host a book reading of my book Angel at Squarespace's headquarters in July. Anthony and the team over there, it means the world to me that you support everything I do and that you make such great software. I'm sorry I missed that as an angel investment. Gosh, I'm such an idiot. I wish I had met Squarespace when they were a young company. But listen, it's a great product. You're going to love it. Whenever anybody in your family or your friends, your spouse, your kids, anybody says to you, I need a website put up, just go to Squarespace. Save them time. Go to squarespace.com. It is that easy to use, and it's totally gorgeous. They have templates for everything. Okay, listen, I could talk all day about Squarespace. Let's get back to this amazing episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. My guest, the amazing Brit Morin. She is at Brit on every social service because, well, she doesn't sleep much and
is an early adopter.
Yes. Extraordinaire. So she's got me beat by one character.
Did I beat you on Twitter? I was user like 2800. What were you?
I had Evan Biz sign me up on my BlackBerry when it was an SMS service. So
man,
I might. Who knows?
I'm going to find your Twitter number after this.
I was originally Jason Calacanis, and then I realized how powerful it was going to be, and I had a little sit down with Jason. At Jason,
I had to negotiate to get at Brit on Instagram because I was Path First Lady, and in the beginning, Path and Instagram were a little
it was a little heated.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm not going to join that service. So I totally missed my opportunity to be Brit. This girl from Colombia who's obsessed with Justin Bieber was Brit. I was in Spanish trying to talk to her, negotiating in her comments for the name, like whatever I could do. I ended up meeting Scooter Braun, Justin Bieber's manager, and was like, Scooter, you got to get me this Instagram handle. What can we do? Like, give her some sneakers. Like, what can
Justin DM her?
There? Right. Like,
Justin DM gets it easily.
And he was like, we'll figure it out. Let's work it out. And it was going to happen. This is all happening.
This is all to get a social media handle.
Oh, and this is very important.
I can't even tell the stories of what I did to get certain domain names and handles.
Really?
Oh, my God.
We'll talk about having children later because that was a whole thing with social media. But anyways, the next week, her account randomly was deleted.
Oh, oops.
And I
wonder how that
emailed
happened.
Kevin. I don't know.
I don't know. Like, Kevin, the fix is in.
You get me Brit right now.
Perfect.
So it happened. Should we talk about your underwear now?
We were just having a conversation about, consumerism, and I was talking about the, podcast is becoming a big space, and I just love my underwear, my Tommy Johns. There's something about craftsmanship that I think is having a resurgence.
Tying us back to Brit Co now.
Which brings us back to Brit Co, right. Which is, I am obsessed with the craftsmanship of the stuff I buy, and I have a new theory, which is, I'm 46. I want to buy everything for the last time. I don't want to spend any more time shopping.
You're going to live to be over 100.
Well, yeah, I know. We'll see how they do over at whatever
50 years.
Peter Thiel's doing. If Peter Thiel can get me a teenager's blood, it's fantastic. But otherwise, I'm expecting I'm going to be here for another 40 years maybe. So I'm like, let me just buy everything for the last time. And I want to just have my life be easy, so I can spend more time with my kids and my wife and stuff I want to do. Yep. So consumerism, I'm kind of like, I'm either anti-consumerism or I'm the ultimate height of it. Because what I do now is I'm like, I am going to investigate what the best thing is, and then I'm going to buy 20 of them. So I literally took all my underwear. I take all my, because I read this book, The Art of Tidying Up.
Oh,
Have you read this?
The life-changing magic of tidying up.
Yeah, that one.
Yes.
Maria
you have to
something.
quote it correctly if you're going to quote it.
What's the title? The life-changing magic.
The life-changing magic of tidying up.
All right. The subtitle is throw your shit away and then keep what you love.
And get higher quality shit.
Get higher quality stuff.
Yeah.
It's basically hold this stuff in your hands. If you love it, keep it. If you hold it in your hands and you're kind of like, meh, give it to charity.
Right. So you held all your underwear.
So I took all my underwear and I was like, you know what? I've been having this like boxers, not for me. Briefs, also not for me. And then they came out with the boxer brief.
That wasn't new. This has been out for
anyway, the boxer brief used to be cotton, which made it very bulky.
Okay.
So if you wear a nice suit like I like to do, or you wear a pair of tight jeans, it's very constricting. Let's leave it at that.
I see.
For a gentleman.
Yes.
They come up with micromodal, and it is thin and light, and it breathes. It's a fabric, micromodal.
Okay.
And that's how they make the Tommy Johns. And they're so thin and light that I feel nothing, but...
Is that a good thing?
It feels like it's a combination of nothing, but with perfect support.
Okay.
In other words, it's like wearing a seatbelt that is so safe, yet you don't feel it.
Should I be buying these for my husband?
I don't know. Yo, for sure.
Really?
For sure. And then it has a very special type of fly, which isn't a vertical fly, it's a horizontal fly. Now, I don't want to get into the technical details and the mechanics of this, but I'll just say that it's much more efficient for gentlemen to have a horizontal fly than a vertical one.
To use the restroom.
To use the loo.
Okay.
Yes, if you have to use the facilities.
Got it.
I've
always been jealous about men for this.
Yes, exactly.
Very lazy, though.
But the point is, I then did this search for every product in every category that I think is the best. So I did search for shoes. And there's boots called Danner boots. They're made out of Portland. And this is what James Bond wears in Spectre and... You know, Daniel Craig, my style icon, you know, my doppelganger, as I tell my wife. She laughs too. So I got those boots, Danners. They last a lifetime. You could literally have them for 100 years. So I'm just going through this like one after another.
So Marie Kondo really changed your life.
I would say actually, in a way, like that book could have been 3 pages.
Yeah.
But I listened to the audiobook on Audible, loved it. And it did change my life because then I just took I found the perfect shirt brand. I found the perfect suit brand.
That's what boys do, though. I call all of you boys. But
yeah, it's fun.
Like girls love to just experiment and buy and like try different brands and things and different styles, and it's artistic, like I was talking about, because you can the mixing and matching of everything, the different textures and fabric. Like we don't want the capsule wardrobe is a thing, you know, where you own like 10 things.
Capsule wardrobe.
It's called capsule wardrobe. It's kind of Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg-esque, where you have 10 things. You can mix and match them a little bit differently, but it's very Marie Kondo. But really...
I'm so important that my time is so valuable that I should wear a uniform every day.
Yeah, there's also the whole, like, don't care what people think of you, how you dress, yada, yada, yada. But again, I think fashion is expression. And I think women in particular a lot of women view it as like an expression of who they are. And... so they like to try different things. But anyways, we digress.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now, when it comes to the race, what I'll say is the arms race to have the most epic life, what's the dark side of this? Because I see it seems to me that Instagram is designed for me to show everybody else in the world, and it seems to be particularly acute when it comes to young women, exactly how amazing my life is. And if I'm only sharing these incredible moments, here I am at Coachella, and here I am at Burning Man, and here's my outfit, here's my next outfit. This is a hedonic treadmill that is unhealthy in a way. How do you think about that? Because I think about it as a parent. Like I have 3 daughters.
Well, I agree with you. However, I think it's acknowledged that that's what it is, and by this generation especially, and even the next, you know, a lot of Gen Z, I've been studying Gen Z a lot because they're our next audience.
Define that.
Gen Z was born between 1995 and 2010.
Got it.
So the oldest of them are graduating college this year.
Wow.
And their consumer patterns are so different than millennials.
How?
So Gen Z largely grew up with technology from day one, meaning like internet devices, laptops, even phones for some of them. But beyond that, you know, they are the most resilient generation. They grew up through 9/11, through the recession. They've had bullying their whole life since they've been connected, online bullying.
The mob.
Yeah. And in fact, they're the most positive generation that exists, which is so interesting.
How did they turn out to be positive?
70% of them, like in a number, there were like 30 different characteristic traits. 70% said they were positive. And beyond that, I do think that the long tail of Gen Z is something that I'm thinking about a lot. It has to do with customization, but also I think for businesses and investors, it's really important because this generation has, for instance, 58 sexual orientations they can choose from Facebook.
I'm sorry. You said 5, 8, or 58?
58.
Okay, because I know 5.
Yeah.
I knew 5, and now I could actually do 8. I think I could do 8. Because there's straight,
trans,
gay,
transgender,
queer,
lesbian.
Okay, and then there's non-binary.
And then
I don't want to select
all these other. Yeah, there's all
bisexual.
These other things. There's words that I can't even pronounce.
I think I'm up to 7.
And I know Facebook now offers
58.
Yeah, it's like their gender preferences, sexual orientations,
their
ethnic background. No, this is on top of that too. So there's, Blaxican is a phrase that people use a lot now.
Oh, yeah.
As America has gotten more diverse, of course, so have all these following generations. So you add all these things together, that's demographics alone.
Right.
Psychographics, this generation has had internet since they were little. So, in when I grew up, we had loners at high school who were kind of interested in weird things, no one really to hang out with. This generation has everyone, right? They can find, if they're interested in some really weird hobby that no one at their school is, they have a community online that's probably still interested in that. And so there's this long tail of interest, and anything that they've been interested in, they just research about on YouTube and they figure it out and learn more about it. So they're well informed, they're interested, diverse, they're diverse demographically, because of that, personalization, not just from what their preferences are in brands and products, but also how they're getting content sent to them is so important. And I'm looking at this like, okay, I'm a media company trying to build, something. I'm pioneering something that all these TV networks and print companies are like way behind on already. How are we going to reach this next generation when I need to probably make 1,000 different pieces of content of the same piece of content and target them
and that
in
is
different
the core
ways.
Business of Brit Co. It all starts with the content.
Correct. Yeah.
But content is considered the worst business you could go into.
You're in a content business.
Well, my hobbies are content businesses.
Well, you have subscription content.
That's true, but I never invest in content businesses. It's a little bit of only because I know it's so hard. So, but you have a secret weapon, I believe. You make this great content, but you don't need to monetize it off of advertising, do you?
Correct.
This is the hack, isn't it?
This has been the strategy since the beginning. And that when I worked at YouTube, I watched these teenagers in their bedrooms getting millions and millions of views, spending not a lot of money to make content, whereas Kraft or some random brand would try to put up a video on YouTube, get no views. Like content equals attention for this generation. If you're going to reach this generation, you have to likely reach them digitally. If you're going to reach them digitally, you have to reach them through content. So now every brand has to be a media company.
Right.
So to be a media company first and to get that right and to understand content, how to reach people effectively, how to keep them engaged, coming back to you daily, that's all of your acquisition. That's your marketing. From there, you can convert them to whatever you want them to do, right? And for us, we always knew products and merchandising would be interesting. What we didn't expect was paid content would also be another revenue line. So this was something that came organically out of our users, and that they were like looking at these cooking tutorials or crafting tutorials, and they're like, I actually just don't even know. I want to learn how to do calligraphy, but that sounds really freaky to me. I've never learned that. I live in the middle of Nebraska. Where do I go? And so we started offering online courses. Yeah. And the competitors in the space are Udemy and Skillshare, which are very UGC oriented.
User-generated content.
They're
platforms.
So
the quality will be variable. The voice will be variable.
Correct. Pricing's all variable. We wanted to shoot, young women who were professionals in these categories who could, authentically affiliate and talk to our audience, where we shot them in our studios on colorful backdrops. We controlled the camera, the zooms, everything. We controlled the product experience. So there's a whole classroom experience. You can talk to the teacher and things like that. And it turns out that people are willing to pay for that stuff.
What do they pay for that?
So
If I
our
want to take a
classes range
calligraphy
from
or a cooking course.
$20 to $50 a class.
That's it? Oh, per class.
Per class.
So what would is it in a semester or are they just one-offs?
They're one-off classes. So but there's like 101s, 201s, et cetera, if you want to like go down deep.
So for somebody who has money to spend, $20 to take a cooking class is nothing.
It's nothing, especially because when you take these classes in person, especially with a lot of the instructors that we have, they're like $100, $200 to take a calligraphy class.
So it's a bargain.
It's a bargain for them. And on top of that, we found that they were like, well, cool. I'm like super into learn calligraphy. What are these pens and inks and things I need?
Yeah.
And so we started selling those products to them as well.
And
Yeah, so you could see how that all kind of comes together.
And you're not scared of charging for content that is freely available on the web.
Correct.
Because
the content is, these classes are like over an hour in length. They're not like a 5-minute YouTube video. The quality's way better. It's the same thing I saw at Pinterest. Like, sure, you can go on YouTube and probably find all the ways to create whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to be kind of shoddy. Like, who knows if the person's a real professional teaching you,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're paying for the brand proposition and the value it provides. If it's Brit Co., it's going to be of a certain level of quality.
Correct.
And you're not going to let any schmuck get up there and pretend they know what they're talking about when they haven't done the research.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's not a wiki where it's like, somebody is giving me advice.
And I think some of those platforms are great, right? Like, you can learn a lot from the internet. But
generally they're wrong.
It takes a lot of work.
Let's be honest.
It takes a lot of work too. Like, we curate it down to like, we curate the curriculum. Like, do they actually need to know that step? No. Like, let's skip that. Like, we really try to make it efficient.
So to summarize, free content pulls people into the paid content pulls them into, hey, you might want to buy these products. And then when we get back, I want to talk about the role of the live event. Is that a moneymaker or is that marketing? And then it's very exciting to build your own line of products at Target when we get back on This Week in Startups. I want to first thank my friend Scott Walker for supporting startups, not just supporting This Week in Startups, but startups themselves. Walker Corporate Law, as you know, is a boutique law firm that specializes in the representation of entrepreneurs and startups. That's what they do. And they encourage fixed fees. What's that? They give you a fixed price. You know what you're going to pay to do your startup financing, to do your corporate formation, to do your trademarks, to do whatever you need to do, employee stock option plan, licensing, mergers, acquisitions, terms of service, privacy policies, all those things that are check boxes for your startup. They do with lawyers that have decades of experience, 10, 20 years. No junior associates getting on the job training, and they specialize in startups. That's why they're so good at it. That's why they can give you fixed fees, and they're really in it for the right reasons. Scott Walker comes to all of our events. He's a real true mensch. He spends a lot of time talking to founders, and you can call him directly right now, 415-979-9998. 415, that's San Francisco, 979-9998. Or you can email him, scott@walkercorporatelaw.com, scott@walkercorporatelaw.com, or visit walkercorporatelaw.com. Scott's a great guy. Tell him your Uncle Jason sent you, and he'll take care of you. Okay. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. You can follow the show at TWI Startups on Instagram and Twitter. Join the mailing list at thisweekinstartups.com, and you'll get invited to special, secret meetings with me, the host, Jason Calacanis. Sometimes we go for a burger and talk about startups. Sometimes we'll have a live show with just 75 seats and an amazing guest like my friend Tim Ferriss. You'll get the inside information only if you're on the email list. In addition, you'll get the show notes. Basically what I'm reading right here. These are all the facts about the show. You get it the day before. And you get a secret link to the live pre-tapings that we do sometimes. You get some of the live and all kinds of other great stuff. If you also want to join our community, about 2,000 founders of companies and investors are hanging out at community.thisweekinstartups.com, provided by our friends over at Mighty Networks. It's Mighty Networks now, not Mighty Bell. They changed the name. Gina doing a great job. And so 1% of the audience has chosen to join that community. Maybe we'll get to 2 or 3%. I'll close it. Just let it be the skim the cream.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's a point at which a community gets too big.
There is?
And, well, like a discussion, I should say a forum.
A forum.
Not an oval, but like a discussion forum. Do you have discussion forums as part of this?
We've
have you
thought
experimented?
about this a lot. I think the forum needs to be totally reinvented. I'm fascinated by Reddit. It skews male.
Yeah. Fascinated and disgusted.
And disgusted by Reddit.
On the fringes. It's 99% fascinating. 1%.
You know, what's so funny is
abhorrent.
like we really played into social media as a content brand, you know, making we don't have any traditional IAB ads or display units on our site. Most of our advertising is native advertising. So we went all in on putting our content natively on distributed social media platforms.
Right.
So Facebook
because the ads are baked in.
Google exactly. And
which is technically against the terms of service on some properties, but
no, we're playing.
Well, Facebook, they're like, you can't put ads into your feeds, right?
You can have ads in your content.
Oh, in the content.
In the content. So we'll do an appetizer recipe sponsored by Triscuit, showing you how to make cool appetizers.
It's technically against it's against me reading my ads technically, and posting on YouTube is against the terms of service.
On YouTube.
On
correct.
YouTube. And I talked to them about it, and they're like, yeah, it's kind of a soft rule.
Yeah.
Like, they just, if you're one of their partners and you're end running the ads, they kind of don't like it.
Right.
But if you're a podcast and you're cross-posting.
Well, most of these platforms want content natively, right?
Yeah.
Like Facebook wants to keep people in the Facebook experience. Pinterest has rich pins now, like Snapchat Discover. All of these properties are kind of walled gardens in that way, but it doesn't affect us because we could actually gain distribution by doing that.
You got to check out Mighty Networks. Here's why. They, and I don't want to make it a commercial for it. I'm not an investor in the company, sadly. I wish I was. I missed it. You can charge a membership fee by month.
I know.
Which is kind of interesting when you start to think about it. So I've been thinking for the This Week in Startups community of letting the first 5,000 people in for free, grandfathering them, or grandparenting them. I'm going to use non-gender specific language. Although your approach to gender is actually kind of interesting. You're kind of like Viva la Différence.
There's 58 gender.
What's that?
Sexual orientations and
58
genders.
of them, yeah. Viva la Différence, 58.
Right.
But anyway, you can then charge $1, and if I had 5,000 people on there, I could actually get what we would call in the listserv days a list mom, which was a non-gender specific term. But you could have a list mom on email lists, which was they would look at every post coming in and just check it before it got published to make sure people weren't spamming, and they were on topic.
Right.
And then if somebody was off topic, they would email them and say, got your post. Very interesting that you're looking to hire a developer. This is a perfect post for Craigslist or these 3 other places. But this discussion is about startups, not for you to get a developer.
So Mighty Networks does this for you.
Mighty Networks does this. So there's really 2 competing platforms right now. Mighty Networks, which lets you control and own your network and have your own dedicated app.
And put a paywall in front of it.
And you can charge. And we have an app now in the pro service in the App Store. So if you search for This Week in Startups, there's actually an app. Then there's a Facebook group. We have a Facebook group going too. The Facebook group has a little more velocity to it because people are already there. Yeah. But we can't control it. And then we know at some point, if it's successful, Zuck's going to be like, yeah, let me change the rules 3 times.
Right.
And screw you and make you pay to reach your customers. So
Facebook and groups just launched the ability to create classes. Have you seen this?
Classes?
Classes.
You mean like classes you're creating?
Like where
like
we're doing. Yeah, but they're a UGC. Again, like you can upload your own unit of the class.
As we know, this is what Facebook does better than anybody. It's like look at entrepreneurs and what they're innovating on and copy it with absolutely no
shame.
Zero shame.
Totally.
And in fact, you witnessed this in your household when no comment. But I mean, it was just because of who I am, I just like called them out on this so brutally. I was like, oh, Zuckerberg just stole from Path the multiple, down to the icon, it felt like. Heart, sad face, smiley face. That was the entire Path, first innovation. There were many innovations, obviously, the Dunbar number and the limited number of people in your network. Right. I loved Path. I'm just very upset at Dave for not continuing. He should have kept going.
Bring him back.
You know what? Now, if you look at it, it really is something about not quitting and keeping going. I know he had wanted to do other things in his life, but
it's still alive. I mean, it's
still alive,
but
people really want a Path right now. They want a more private experience.
So many celebrities still use Path. Did you know this? Just that small. They want to be on social networks, but they can't authentically. No. So they use Path to share with their closest friends and families. It's crazy.
All right.
Anyways,
let me get back to you.
Okay.
And $40 million in 4 rounds.
45.
Just an incredible group of people. I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk's in there, and General Catalyst, Verizon, Intel, Cowboy Ventures. We've had Aileen on the program many times. Tremendous amount of money has been raised. You have about 100 employees now?
106.
106. very different having a 106-person company than a 10 or 20-person company.
I think, what I've been told and what I've found to be true so far is that the hardest part of a company is 50 to 150.
Yeah. Why? What's the
I
thinking
think Dunbar's number plays into this, not just
define Dunbar number
fanatic.
for people who don't know.
Dunbar's number is Robin Dunbar. Was a cognitive scientist in the UK who studied the brain and all the social nodes that the brain can contain at one time, meaning the number of relationships you can authentically have with people. 150 is the maximum number of social nodes you can actually manage at one time. So if you, like when we had our wedding, and this is really lame and cheesy, we like had a hard limit on 150 guests.
Right.
Because we wanted to be sure that we could actually have conversations with everyone and make sure we like could fill the room the right way.
As number 227, I thank you for that. Really,
Sorry about that. Well, we're going to do a redo on 10-year anniversary, so we'll
really
get you on
appreciate that, Dave.
Anyways, but 50 is also really important in a startup's life because that's when you're like legally required to have things like HR and all these different processes in place, and things just start to change. That I can't keep up with everyone that we have now. You have to have hierarchies of, managerial levels. There's, processes that have to come into play, and it's just a whole thing. But we're in the middle of it. We're doing okay. So I feel good about that.
And you did this deal with Target.
Yes.
This seems to me to be like a tipping point for you because if you, just based on my outside assessment, if you're able to raise these rounds of funding based upon the vision of content leading to courses, paid content, and then some selling of product, that seems to me to be a sustainable business. But when you add Target, then I'm guessing they approached you, but I'd be interested to know if you approached them and they approached you. If they did approach you and they asked you to make that line for them, that means that they look at you as a source and a feeder, and they desperately need people in their stores. Obviously, that's their lifeblood, and that's a major tipping point for Brit Co.
Yeah.
So explain to me the Target relationship, and if my assessment from the outside is correct.
Mostly correct. The interesting thing with Target is they were a media partner before they were a merchandising partner. So they already knew that we performed well for them. We reached an audience that they coveted, and these young women.
They advertised with you.
They've advertised with us, correct. So the merchandising team, though, is very separate, and it was a conversation that sprung up, with the intention of not just like, Brit Co can make products. We've done that because we had done that on our own. Yeah. We've manufactured on our own before going into Target.
Oh, did you really?
Uh-huh.
What products did you make on
We
your
were
own?
making do-it-yourself kits, and we were, tools and craft supplies, all that stuff.
So you learned how to
So we were sourcing, manufacturing. At one point, we actually had 5,000 SKUs on our site. We were also selling some of our makers products, kind of like a very curated Etsy, helping women get off the ground with their businesses. So anyways, we have had a history in commerce for years, even though we haven't done mass retail until this year. So what they knew, though, was that, we're not just a media company trying to pretend like we're a merchandising company. We've been doing this for a while. We reach this young consumer. We have a real point of view. We're not just all women's lifestyle, kind of everything to everyone. And so and then we can get people into a place. We've had these events called Remake, like you mentioned, where we've driven 15,000 women in a single city to show up to something. So I do think it was multifaceted in that regard. For us, Target was the best partner. We surveyed our audience and asked them, who's your favorite retailer? We probably had 10 to 20 different retailers on the list. 68% said Target. And I think what's interesting is I really do think Brit Co, similar to Pinterest again, reaches that middle class, middle American woman. Yes, we have coastal audiences, but she's a little bit more time, a little bit more space, but she still wants to be trendy and hip and likes design, likes tech, is working either for herself or is building her way up the ladder. And I think that really resonates with what the Target audience is as well. So it's been a really great fit. The other thing I'll mention is that we do see the funnel being, build content for an audience to acquire them, classes, merchandise. But on the flip side, we've embedded gift certificates for free classes into every Target product. So even if you never knew who Brit Co was, but you purchased one of our products, you're seeing, I get a free class for whatever I want to take online, driving them back online. So it's as if Target stores are also like billboards for us as well.
So when you become CEO of Target, which is pretty much where this is leading in my mind.
Obviously. Yeah.
Obviously. If I gave you the keys suddenly, let's say I own Target, I'm like Warren Buffett or whoever owns that thing, or somebody says, you know what, it's time. We need to have a leader in here who, and I'm not saying the leadership's bad at Target, but if they gave you the keys and you all of a sudden own all these stores, and the stores are challenged. Retail is challenged now. How would Brit solve the challenge of retail at say a Target or some other big box brand? What would you do?
Well, I think Walmart's been making some really bullish and good moves lately. I think a lot of people, a lot of people question the Jet acquisition. A lot of people have questioned like Bonobos and some of these other brands they're acquiring. What I think is so smart is they've realized like we need to play the digital commerce game. Somebody's got to compete with Amazon.
Right.
I think Target needs to go much deeper in that direction. Their online sales are less than 5%, I think, at this point.
Should be half.
Totally. So I think like that would be number one would be like, how do we make Target.com more like better, higher conversion? Do we need to acquire companies? What do we need to do to build up our digital e-commerce? Secondly, like I would reimagine all of the stores as experiential retail. This is what retailers know they need to do. Some of them are trying and a lot of them are failing. For decades, it's been about how much can I get out of this, like price per square foot, right? Like what can I do price per square foot? What I think Target should do is really think about, okay, we have this really big play in women's fashion. Instead of having racks of clothes, like why don't we have some new experience where women can try on things differently or add virtual mirrors where they can like see what all these outfits would look like on them, that get them in a store faster. And the cooking supplies, I'm selling pots and pans, yes, but what if I had cooking demos? And sort of Williams-Sonoma has done this a little bit.
Yeah, there's a Williams-Sonoma here in San Francisco. When I lived in Pac Heights for a while, they had a store, and the store was half the store, and then there was a big cooking class in the front window, and you'd walk by and you'd see 8 people making gnocchi and pizza, whatever. And I was like, this is brilliant because if you're making the gnocchi, you're going to need to get whatever the tools.
Well, and the other thing is, have you heard of Story in New York?
What is that?
Really amazing retail store called Story in New York. It's like a 2,000 square foot store in Chelsea.
Wait, store or story?
Story is what it's called. It is a store. They think of it though as a content experience come to life. So every 6 weeks the theme changes. So around Mother's Day we called Her Story, and everything in there from the merchandising to the they have events, they have speakers come in, they have all kinds of things that happen related to women. Right, everything's about women. It might turn over to a holiday story, and everything's about giftable things that you can gift each other, and you have Christmas decorating like classes and cookie decorating and all these different things. And so they think of it like content, even though they're selling merchandise. And what's great about it is it just captivates the audience to come back. That returning user, it's the returning customer, right? Like, why do I need to go to Target? Yeah, they have commodities, I need to buy detergent, whatever. I can get that on Amazon. So if you're a retailer in today's world, what's going to actually get you to come back to shop for stuff that you don't even know you want yet? Yeah. And that's, treating it like content and experiences, which is what they do so well.
Does that mean that's where you're going to go with Brit?
Well, that's sort of what we've experimented with our festivals.
Yeah.
And we've done
back to that. Does that make money, or do you just break even and try to build brand?
Makes a little bit of money. Okay. We've also done pop-up shops for like a month's time around the holidays. We've done it the last 2 years in San Francisco, the Holiday House. This year...
Does it work? Does it make money, or is it just a brand builder?
Both. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because the brilliance of it is that we not only have so Method was our partner for the Holiday House.
The soap company.
The soap company. Yeah. Yes. When you're making cookies and holiday cards and things, you get dirty.
Yeah.
So we need hand washing stations,
Everybody
all kinds of stuff. Everyone needs soap. So there's sponsorships. We create digital packages out of the content that happens there. There's merchandising sales. We have classes. So it's like a yoga studio in that regard where people are coming in and everything was sold out. So we treat it like we do our business, which is like multi-revenue, just very diversification in that regard. And that's how we treat our festivals too. So this year we're actually doing a hybrid of a festival meets a pop-up shop for Remake. It's going to be in New York. We haven't announced this publicly yet.
Okay,
but it'll be a couple weeks long instead of 2 days. Not a full month. So it's something in the middle, but it's a 7,000 square foot space. It's going to be like very huge. We'll have speakers, we'll have events, we'll have workshops, and people off the street who can come in and like buy things and experience brands and all kinds of stuff.
This is the future of retail, I think, is just having more experiences and even co-working. I mean, everybody's becoming an entrepreneur. How much of what you do is people learning these crafts for the purpose of generating revenue, not just there? Because I get the sense that there's like a secret Linda or Treehouse inside of what you're doing.
I think there could
even though
be
you
too.
Don't overtly say it.
No.
Or do you overtly say it? Because on the website, I don't often see like, here's like your next job.
The thing that this generation calls it is their side hustle.
Yeah, side hustle.
Side
I like
hustle.
that, yeah.
So a side hustle is either for women or men who just have a hobby, like they love making candles, and that's just fun for them, and they happen to be able to sell them, right? But also maybe it's like, well, I love doing this, but can I actually quit my accounting job and be a candle maker? And like, so they're figuring it out. It's kind of their beta test. And others, want to be entrepreneurs and they want to like start really big companies and raise money. And so we have a varying spectrum of entrepreneurs in training, I would say. And so we don't have the hard numbers. I think we've surveyed our audience before. I think 60 something % are doing this for hobby skills. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's creative. But like a third of the audience is like, I want to do something more with this. And so we actually offer business classes on the site. We like how to just do a logo design, how to do, how to learn how to take product photography and lighting and all these things.
This to me seems like an incredible opportunity for you.
Yeah.
Because if jobs are going away, right, or a certain group of jobs are going away, like the retail jobs are actually going away, right? Like you go into a lot of, Panera Bread replaced every person at the register with an iPad,
a machine,
a machine, right? You order, and like who wants to talk to a person? Like if I just want to get a burger, let me press something and let's get on with it, right?
Totally.
And nor should people be sitting behind the counter.
Creative
like,
jobs are the ones that will still exist.
Exactly. So this is where it sort of gets interesting. Let's talk a little bit about being a female founder.
Fun topic.
You seem to have done very well. Do you think you get judged to a higher standard, and do you believe you have to work twice as hard to get the same credit as a female founder, candidly?
Candidly, I don't know, twice as hard is the right ratio, but yes, much harder.
Much harder.
Most venture capitalists are men. Most venture capitalists are not millennial men.
They're old men.
So
I'll say it,
when we reach
I'm 46 as an angel and they consider me young.
When we reach female millennials, they're not going to jump out of their seats immediately understanding the problem we're trying to solve when we go in for the pitch. What I always default to is that the data, drives everything. We've doubled our revenue and our growth every year since the beginning of the business. Our charts are hockey sticks. We look like that in our decks, and we have crazy partnerships that are coming to play now. We have, we just launched classes on JetBlue, learn on the fly. We have Verizon as a partner now. We're doing some interesting things with TV networks now. So there's a lot that, every year is compounding and that typically sways them, but I wouldn't say that they're like dying to be part of, investing in Brit Co from the start.
Do you resent the fact that you have to show the performance in order to get the investment, whereas men, let's be candid, they can put up a deck and if they went to the right school or they got the right technical skills, can get funded without the performance. And head to head, it's been shown and proven that men get more funding with less performance. It's been proven now in studies.
It's been proven.
Or do you just put it out of your mind and just say, screw it, I'm just going to focus on my work?
I work with the guys at Slow Ventures on occasion when they're looking at deals in the media or commerce space or anything female related. And so I do see some of the decks that the men make too. And I wouldn't say all of them are spectacular, even if they have a Harvard business degree. So I wouldn't say it's 100%. I do think there's some variation of like, it's a little bit easy. It's like, let's go like hang out and like smoke cigars. Let's go play golf. Let's go like do this. Did you see the Warriors play last night? That was awesome.
So the male founders can start on second base.
There's just a little bit more. And it's the same with women. Like I was talking to your hair and makeup person backstage and we were like instant best friends. There's girl talk. It's a human thing. I don't judge Silicon Valley for it.
So with the female venture capitalists, you feel you get there quicker if you pitch an Aileen Lee from Cowboy Ventures. Do you feel like she just grokks it quicker?
Yes.
And there's 100%. Obviously less bias there.
Yeah. And she's smart too. She's not going to invest in something just because it's a female founder. Like people look at the data. There's diligence that goes into this, especially in Series C and beyond, right? Yeah. So I know that we have to have the numbers to support it. But that story, that mission, the why, which is so important, I think, is more easily grokked by the women. There is a study that just came out. I don't know if you saw it. That said men who have VCs who have daughters that are 12 years old or above actually invest more in female founders.
Certainly true for me, and I have 3 daughters under 7. So
yeah, well, imagine what's going to happen when they're over 12.
Well, at this point, it's really interesting. Like there is something about when you see the unfairness in the world on a gender basis, and you see that 84 cents to the dollar, when you don't have kids, and you're just like, wow, that sucks, but like, but when you have daughters, all of a sudden it's like, this is an imperative now. Like, we got to fix this now.
Right.
And I think that is something. You also, there's the thing I love about investing in female founders, and you can tell me if this resonates, is that there's a level of seriousness, and the things that are not important, going to Web Summit or the TED conference or being at TEDx Boise, Idaho, or some other nonsense, or being selected as the Web Summit top.
Ego.
There's ego kind of nonsense. Like, and should I go on Shark Tank or not? Just like, I'm constantly fielding questions from male founders that are so nonsensical and non-core to their business that I want to strangle them sometimes. I just grab them by the lapels moment and just saying, like, this does not matter.
Right.
Fortune, Forbes, whatever, 40 under 40, 50 under 30, 30 under 15. It does not matter. And then the female founders were like, I'm trying to hire this person. I can't close them. Can you help me close them? Or I need to get a meeting with Target. We need to increase our revenue. We need to lower our CAC. Like, it's very tactical.
Yep.
Resonate or no?
Totally. I think women are just more operational in that regard. We don't have as big of ego. In fact, like, one thing I've said before is that I think women have to be more, have more egos. Like, we don't sell ourselves enough. And that's a huge disparity I see even between the way my husband functions as an entrepreneur and myself. I'm very honest. We're too honest as women. We have to be a little bit dishonest and go play. Like, of course we're going to triple our revenue when we've doubled ever. Like, obviously, like, no doubt about it.
Delusional.
A little delusional instead of practical. Yeah.
I kind of feel like that is, I have to agree with you. A lot of times women are looking at it saying, I don't want to be dishonest with you. This business is a majority chance it's going to fail. And I think, maybe we can grow revenue 50% or double it, but it's going to be hard, and there's just a lot of obstacles. And it's like,
you're like, well, I don't want to invest in that.
You're like, okay, I kind of want to hear like the opposite. Lie to me, please.
Clear path to profitability, 100 million in revenue in 3 years. Like, not a big deal. We've got this. Like,
when you see it most is when you say to a male founder, so tell me about your competition. There's no competition.
Yeah.
Competing with us? It's your competition. And you're like, but doesn't Google have a product? They're like, it's terrible. It's dog shit.
Does that not make people are totally incompetent. Less of them, though? I mean, this is where the honesty kind of gets me in these VC meetings, is I'm like, they're going to think I'm full of shit if I tell them I don't, if I'm not telling them
it's a very fine line, because I do find that when somebody doesn't point out the obvious competition, I'm like, okay, so either you're clueless, or you're delusional and lying to me. So, or maybe that's 3 choices.
Yeah.
So it is kind of weird when they don't believe they have competitors, and there's obvious competitors in the market. So it is kind of charming, though, when somebody is like, obviously we're going to out execute them. Those are just a bunch of Googlers. I mean, they're
they don't know anything. Yeah.
Well, it's just like, do you watch Silicon Valley? Like, they're Hooli. They're on the roof drinking iced tea. They're collecting their RSUs. They don't care if that product succeeds. We care. We live and die by our photo product.
Right.
They don't care about their photo product. It's a pretty convincing argument. It's a better. So what's the hardest thing about the business now at 100 employees versus when it was just 10 or 20? Like, what is your time? I'm assuming when you were 10 or 20 people, you were just figuring out what the product was and building product. How much time do you actually have to spend building product versus dealing with the complexity of a 106-person organization with all these different business lines?
We have 3 business lines, and we did them strategically, kind of consecutively. We didn't launch into anything else before we felt like we had somewhat master. We've never, I don't think we'll ever fully master media, right? Our content resonated with people. We understood our distribution channels, audience development, all of that stuff. Then we launched into classes, right? I would say that with our media business is Series C, classes is like Series A. So we've done that for like 18 months now. We're starting to really get the hang of it. Like, our metrics are looking good. It's like on track to be a profitable business very soon. Merchandising is our seed stage, right? We just launched into that a couple months ago. We're still getting, but it's 12 months out always. So we're planning for the next 2 years. I mean, the economics of it look great. You know, we feel good about it, but we're still learning it. We're getting better at it. So I think about it in those terms. The way that we hire because of that is such that, you know, we have many more people working in the media business. It's our more mature business, you know, foundational revenue. We're like consecutively, you know, year over year doubling that advertising business. You know, classes is a smaller team. I'm treating it like a Series A startup, you know, and I'm putting a little bit more of my time into that to make sure we get it right. I'm putting a lot of my time into merchandising right now. It's our new baby business, but has this huge potential already. Year one, it's I can't say numbers, but it's large. And I
but
think
it's a little bit fickle, isn't it? Like you have a partner, whereas in the education business, you're in complete control.
Correct, but education wasn't a huge. It's not that differentiated from what we do in terms of creating content. It's longer form, but we're utilizing our same video team, our same studios.
Yeah.
We already do tutorials of some sort. So
interesting. The people who get a similar product for free, but they pay for it, I think there's something to paying for something that makes you feel better about consuming it and increases your focus level when consuming it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
like you have a vested interest.
It's like when we have events, we make people buy tickets no matter what. Like, you know, it's like so that they show up, right?
Right. It is as somebody who gives away a large number of free tickets, the drop off on free tickets is tremendous.
Super high. Same with free content, right? So anyways, we treat it like that. It's funny when I talk to VCs occasionally in like the pitch process, they're like, oh, you have all these businesses. It's so complicated. You don't have a focus. And it's like, we don't actually have that many business. You know, we're actually doing a lot of the same things. We just have different revenue models around them.
Yeah. You can put the free content and the educational content as one product.
Correct.
One is just the onboarding. One is the funnel for the other.
Yeah, correct. The merchandising business is a separate business, but it drives back to online. So it's almost like an acquisition channel as well.
There's like a flywheel there. Yeah. If somebody bought the calligraphy set and they got the lessons, they're going to buy more lessons. Have you thought about just going full lynda.com, like what she did in software, just saying, hey, $25 a month, all you can eat, $20 a month?
We've thought about it for sure. It's something we're continuing to think about, modeling it out.
Because that masterclass doesn't do that. They just, you buy $199 for having...
There's all these different, well, masterclass is different, right? Because they have these crazy celebrities and license. I think it's really interesting.
It's pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
I passed on investing like an idiot. That's probably a mistake.
I would have invested. We didn't either. But yeah, I think it's one of the more compelling education businesses.
I was just like, I don't know if you're going to, like they had Dustin Hoffman because they knew somebody friend of the family.
But they just killed it with all this.
And I was like, I don't know if you can.
Comedy, Annie Leibovitz teaching photography.
The key mistake I made was, I look back on that one and I go, that was a huge mistake because I knew that the founders were hustlers and I loved them, but the valuation was high. And I was like, I just don't know how many Dustin Hoffmans there are that you're going to land or whatever.
Right.
And they just ran the table, like Jerry Seinfeld, whoever they're getting. And for $199 or $99.
For content,
it's a pretty good deal.
Acquisition spend is. The beauty of being a media company, again, is like we haven't spent any dollars in
it's amazing.
Acquisition. Like we acquire through our content. So it's a little bit different in that regard.
You would be such an amazing acquisition for Walmart or Target. If either of those people bought you and you just simply put your classes in the back of their stores, the people would come for the class and half of them would buy hundreds of, and you know what, you'd probably get people who don't go to those stores.
Yep.
There'd be all new customers, where half of them would be new customers.
Right.
It's such a no-brainer.
Yeah.
What, you think you want to sell this business, or you have plenty of money? It looks like you're going to have a clear path to profitability.
Yeah.
What's your
number one priority is profitability, so we're close.
You could be if you wanted to.
We could be if we wanted to. Right. We're excited about
plenty of runway.
That we have a new fresh funding round, so we have plenty of runway. We've gotten M&A interest for sure. Yeah. More from the media side.
Interesting.
But we've
that
just
would be a
been
huge mistake. Don't do it.
Merchandising for a little bit. And I think that opens the eyes to some of these big retailers, especially if a lot of them are shutting down stores right now. They aren't reaching this new audience. They don't know anything about digital. They don't have engineers. They don't know content. I think for sure a retailer could be a potential exit as well.
Too early to sell. These media companies need you. And if you just go you just get to that profitability.
Yeah.
Oh, and you just add one more zero to your revenue.
Yeah.
Then you'll be buying them. It's just like you'll be so close to being able to IPO this and then have the equity to go buy them.
I know.
Because a lot of these retailers and these media companies are just on such a slide downhill, and they can't get out of it because they have either pensions that they're paying and office spaces, or they have all this retail space.
Yeah.
So they are like planes that have...
Well, they can't get out of these old businesses, right? Like all the print companies, they
can't
still make a
unwind it.
shitload of revenue in print advertising, but like it's declining every year. They can't take people off of it. They can't lower their
It's just such a trap.
costs. I know, it's a trap, and that's
Time. Look at
glad
time.
we're not in that trap, but yeah.
Well,
I know.
it is. There's a lesson in that, which is when you have these businesses, do you really need to spend what you're spending to make the money you're spending? Right? So what I noticed, because I was in journalism, that these magazines were spending up to their revenue, as opposed to saying, what's the reasonable amount to spend on this magazine? They were like, oh my God, we're doing so well. Let's give Annie Leibovitz $50,000 or $100,000 to do the cover.
Right.
And they never thought for a second, like, maybe we could hire somebody just as talented as, or 85% as talented as whoever,
Right.
Annie Leibovitz, and just have them make $150,000 working for Vanity Fair and have our own in-house and take that in-house as opposed to spending $1 million a year.
I was in an Elle photo shoot with like Chrissy Teigen, and we had like the best celebrity photographer person, and it was a $300,000 shoot. I think about that, I'm like, how much burn is that of my like monthly?
Like those Milk Studios or those
Milk Studios, yep.
They did it at Milk?
Yeah.
So those kind of places charge like $50,000 for the day.
It's insane.
$50,000 a day for
Plus
a space that rents for $10K a day.
The photographers, the like talent to get there, like to pay the talent to even do it. Like Chrissy Teigen, I was free, but I'm sure Chrissy Teigen wasn't free. But
Depends, yes. Usually editorials
for promotion, yeah, I guess. Anyway, it's crazy. I don't know. I don't understand it. I would never do that.
But think about it. You built your own studio.
Right.
You own the talent.
Right.
You have the number one job title is DIYer.
DIY.
DIYer.
It's a common mistake.
Sorry.
It's
DIY.
okay. FYI. DIY.
FYI, DIY. People have on their cards DIYers.
A couple people that work for us do. Yeah.
But you hire people to just tinker. That's the greatest job in the world.
We run the models against it, right? Like the content that they're creating and the value extracted.
Sure.
I mean, we back into like the whole page impressions and then advertising, like
conversion.
It all
you have
makes
the funnel
sense.
dialed in.
Yeah, it's not like we're just like, that would be fun to make that project today. Like there's actually numbers that back into everything that we're doing, which I think is, I mean, I was at Google before this. Everything was data driven. And the reason why we were so big on Pinterest, we A/B tested the pin it button on our site like 50 times before we got the one that was just like killer and everyone pins from our site now. Like it's like we're using data, in really smart Silicon Valley types of ways to test content, to back into why we're doing things, to pivot the business model. Like everything is numbers first. And the hard part is there's an art to content, right? And so we have
you don't want to lose
find
your
that
soul.
balance.
Yeah.
Correct.
If you think about Upworthy or BuzzFeed, a lot of
we're
these
not
people,
just going to be clickbait.
they got themselves in trouble because they're like, oh, wow, look, we know how to manipulate. And even SEO before that, Mahalo and eHow and a lot of places, we got ourselves in trouble because all of a sudden we're like, wait a second, what does the Google search engine need? Because that's our best way to get traffic. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, is this why we started the company, was to feed an algorithm? It's like, not exactly.
It's sort of, it's hard to have employees work for you who are to feel motivated who just do that, right? Like there's obviously some amount of that goes into every media company, right? We have to know what's trending and play into that a little bit, but like
I think the trend,
eHouse style stuff, like that stuff.
Once you have control of your destiny as a content producer, it really is powerful. I think it's going to be the big trend. Like that's why Inside.com is going to, email directly to people, no intermediaries, 25 email newsletters, and now we're going to start charging for like 2 days a week will be free and 3 days a week will be paid. So it'll be like Stratechery or Launch Ticker, where it's like partial paywall. And you only need to get 1,000 people to pay $10 a month.
I'm thinking a lot about
business.
I mean, we're really doubling down on moms next. Like I don't think anyone owns moms well on the internet. It's very like Baby Center and things like that have been around for decades that are antiquated. But like it's like moms will pay, like new moms are so freaked out about everything, like whether they're pregnant or just had a baby, they're like, help me, please. And they would be willing to pay for email newsletters, a chat bot that's helping, like whatever it is, like help this population. And you can do that with so many different types of segments, right? So I love what you're doing in that regard. I think email in particular and like messaging bots and things like that are like not even tapped yet. And
you know what? It's a slow burn business. You have to be willing to say, I'm going to add 200 people a month for $10 each.
Yep.
And at some point, across some number of newsletters, across some number of products, it's going to become meaningful at some point. But it makes it so pure, right? It's one of the great things about the training business. If people pay $20 for one of the training videos and they didn't get value, they're going to ask for their money back, and you have that great signal. And in fact, you can put a money back guarantee in to, and say, we'll give you your money back, just tell us why.
Right.
And you can kind of get that feedback. What'd you learn from Marissa Mayer? She's kind of a quixotic person. You're laughing and like looking up right now. So you're trying to figure out the good things.
I learned. Well, no, she was influential to me. I know she gets like a lot of different responses from people, but like she taught me so much about data and just data-driven everything, design. I remember one meeting where we were debating the bevel of a corner on a button. Like it was so intricate. She sees it, and I think I'm now OCD because of it. My team hates me. I know when a presentation is up and something's like 2 pixels off, and it bothers me.
Yeah, she does seem to have that
quirky OCD thing. I mean, it's perfectionism, right?
Yeah.
But it was inspiring as a woman to see, like, I don't wear designer clothing a lot, but she just rolls into Google with Oscar de la Renta on and like bombs into her office, and it's like, that's cool. Like, I felt like I could never wear anything but jeans and t-shirts when I was at Google, or else people would judge me. And
it's
so
interesting. Women have to think about these things. Like,
we think about those things for sure.
Isn't that crazy? It's nuts.
Crazy.
It is. It's crazy. Like, if I show up, I'm like, I'll show up in a suit or I'll show up in cargo. I mean, Sam Altman's running like.
We only have one of everything now. So.
Well, that's true. But like Sam Altman is like running like this huge Y Combinator operation, and he's wearing cargo shorts, sneakers, and a t-shirt and a hoodie.
I know.
When he's going around with Peter Thiel to these secret meetings with all these like famous people. And
a lot of the Founders Fund guys do that. They just like cargo shorts and t-shirts. And it's women want to dress. I mean, women like to dress up, I think,
I have
a little
a message
bit.
for those people. Act like adults. Honestly, seriously. It's like, it's so juvenile. You can't say it. I can say it.
You can
they're
say
friends
it.
of mine.
I can say it. I don't
just
judge
can say, like,
guys.
I do judge you. Like, if you're running around, like, I understand on vacation. I like a good pair of cargo shorts when I'm hiking in the headlands or something. But for God's sake, like, if you're coming to a meeting, dress like an adult. I know. I mean, it's crazy, but
women wouldn't. I mean, women don't do that.
You can't
do that.
You can't.
You can't.
It's double standard.
Jeans we can wear, but that, I mean, we have to have a nice top with them. So
yeah, exactly. It's like a complete double. It's interesting, Marissa's like reputation. Her level of detail and focus in which I think they're kind of analogous to Zuckerberg's in a way, right? Like they're kind of we both know both people. Like we kind of both have that like. I don't want to say Aspergery because it's a clinical diagnosis, but that level of focus that comes from being having a certain type of brain.
She also doesn't sleep.
You know this, She's got that
Yeah.
certain focus that comes from that side of the spectrum of like introversion and focus, right? And then with it comes a little bit of awkwardness maybe and not eye contact or whatever, but it's a level of focus over there. And then with Zuckerberg, it's charming, and with her, it's like off-putting.
She got a bad rap for it,
Yeah, it's almost like off-putting. Like they made the character in Silicon Valley. I understand the venture cap. You watch Silicon Valley. You know the venture capitalist?
Yeah, that's her.
That I was told
that was questionable whether
that's
it was her.
That's a composite of her.
Got it.
Because she's so
Kind of
mechanical
quirky,
and quirky and like, well, of course I went ahead and sent the term sheet. But she's not a venture capitalist, but it's got that same affect.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She's a real, I mean, I don't think she's a real person too. And she's young. Like she's played this role for so long now where I think you would imagine she's in her 40s or 50s, and she just turned 40, and she was doing all this stuff in her 30s. Like, I think it's really admirable, some of the stuff she's done and the risk that she's taken. So,
well, taking Yahoo on was like,
I know.
I mean, I think
that alone was admirable.
That was a crazy maneuver.
Yeah.
And it's a mission that nobody could, I think there's a very small number of people who could actually have made that happen, and she's not one of them, which is not a dig to her. It's such a hard thing to do to land a plane like that. It requires somebody to come in and cut half the staff on day one.
Right.
Something she was not willing to do, right? It's just not who she is.
Yeah.
So you need a marauding, cutthroat person who's like, yeah, by the way, we're not in these businesses. All of these things are done, and you're not getting free lunch, and we're taking your phones away, and you have to pay for park. It would take a sick, crazy, hatchet guy.
Yeah, totally.
You need a hatchet person in there. Person, yeah. We're all getting used to these non-gender. We have to redo I'm trying to find the best way to say craftsmanship.
Oh, good one.
Craftsmanship.
I know. It's hard with I have little boys, and we drove by construction workers, and I was like, oh, there's the construction men. And I'm like, construction people. It's a thing that like I just.
Well, I'm getting really good at it. How do you say firefighter? I'm sorry, I screwed up.
Firefighter.
Fireman.
Oh, firefighter.
Firefighter. That's the non-gender version.
Cheated on that one.
Everybody gets
policeman though. Like he says, policeman.
Officer.
Police officer.
Police officer.
You have to learn all.
See, this is the one we've been going with crafts. Personship.
The craftsman sounds like so cool. Like I actually don't. We don't use the word crafts when we talk about Brit Co a lot.
Yeah.
And even DIY. Like we try to work. No, it sounds so cool when you say craftsmanship. Like that's like a nice oiled piece of wood. Yeah, no, it's okay. You can say I'm
okay. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to mansplain it.
Mansplain it.
I'm going to officially mansplain it. This has been wonderful. Continued success. I mean, what a tremendous entrepreneur you are. I really, it's just really great to see somebody authentically being who they are and having it turn into really amazing success. And just watching you and Sophia Amorosa and Allison Pincus, there's like a little cohort there of women who started companies, whatever it was 6 or 7 years ago when it was really hard.
Yeah.
And you know what? The likely case is failure. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. But if you keep trying, and Nasty Gal turns into girl boss, and we'll see what Allison Pinkins does next, and you seem to have run away with it. You're going to be one of those really strong examples to women that this can be done, and that when you started, it was harder, and when Mothra started, it was even harder. Mm-hmm. But it's just really great to see as a dad of 3 daughters and just as somebody who invests in companies, to see somebody so focused on something so authentic and just so deft at the craft. Just kudos to you. I'm a big fan.
Thank you. As Elizabeth Warren said, but still she persisted.
But still. Well, I mean, I think really, if you think about this moment in time, if we had elected the woman, this country would be so much further ahead right now. And now we're in complete utter chaos. And we're one of the few countries who believes that the planet doesn't matter.
I know. I can't even go
It's
there
incredible.
Right now. Oh, I know.
And we were this close to having, the first female president who was infinitely more qualified. And it just shows you, we really have to stay vigilant about who gets the opportunity.
Right.
And I believe she didn't get the opportunity because she was a woman.
I agree.
And I mean, we're sitting here in 2017. She was more qualified. She was slandered.
My generation will see that, though, and fight harder.
Yeah, and certainly Generation Z does not see gender. They do not see...
Clearly.
No, I mean, they're just like, here's what I am today.
Right.
Who cares what I am tomorrow?
Yeah.
And I mean,
it's imminent that this will change. It's just going to take a few years.
I think this feels. You're optimistic, yeah?
I'm optimistic.
I think anybody who knows young people or spends any amount of time with young people has very good reason to be optimistic because they put the planet first and they're optimists. And they believe, millennials like yourself, you consider yourself a millennial, yeah?
Yes.
And, but Dave might be Gen X.
He claims he's a millennial. Millennial technically started in 1980, which is the year he was born.
Yeah, I think he's more Gen X,
A little borderline.
He works too hard to be millennial, I think. I'm breaking chops here. But I think it's really great to see that these next 2 generations coming up because they really care about the right things. They can get derided about work ethic, and that's true, or they can, be a little, weird on the fringes with the, Asperger's and looking at their phones constantly.
Yeah.
But boy, do they care about the right things.
They do. And
happiness, experiences.
Positivity. 70% of Gen Z claim they're positive people. So that's at least a little bit optimistic.
Yeah, it feels like they're the Star Trek generation. You watch Star Trek and they're just like, everybody is kind of like cool with each other and they seem like they're post-race.
Star Trek generation.
I do. I think they're going to
call it now. Screw Gen Z.
No, I call them Gen C because I think they're the connected generation.
Interesting.
Because they grew up only connected. I think that's the main difference. And being connected all the time and having grown up with the smartphone and with the internet as opposed to us, we can remember the moment we got online for the first time. That is discernibly a different thing.
Yeah.
All right, listen, everybody go to Brit Co.
Yeah.
And buy something, take a class, buy something for a friend, and follow Brit. She's Brit on all the social media. And go to Target. If you see it in Target, very important for you to just buy a couple.
10, maybe.
Yeah. Between 5 and 15.
Between 5 and 15.
5 and 15 is probably a good number of things to buy. And if you're looking for a job, I know you're hiring.
Oh, we are hiring. Brit.co/jobs.
Yeah.
All kinds of positions.
What's the culture like over there? What would you say if you had to, if your team, explain to me what the culture was.
We
What would they say?
really try to hire people that match the brand. So it's creative. Even our engineers have like, they're like musicians or they're illustrate like on the side, you know, they
So
love
living
to
the brand, they're creative.
Living the brand, they're creators.
The craftsmen.
They believe, yeah, some of them like to brew their own beer. Like, you know, it's their, you know, everyone breathes the culture. 70% female. It's a great gig for a man. We're trying to hire more men.
Yeah, it is a challenge.
I know.
So literally, we're doing
diversity comes to haunt you in the opposite way at Brit Co. But we do have baked goods almost every day. We have something called the Brit 15. You have to be wary of if you join.
Your baked goods is my. That is. I literally had a dinner. We invited you the other week at Flour and Water, and it was tragic because you invite all these people from San Francisco to Flour and Water, pizza and pasta. And we had one meat dish and everything else was pizza and pasta, some vegetables, of course.
Carbs, no.
And people were freaked the fuck out. And I had to tell everybody, calm down. Tonight's your cheat night. Tim Ferriss got a cheat day. I watched him eat 3 pieces of chocolate cake on vacation. That kid cheats, trust me.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't eat for 2 days.
Right.
This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
The fasting thing after that?
We were on vacation and I'm like, what are you doing? And he has a piece of cake. I'm holding like what is a third of a piece of pie, like a third of a 12-inch pie. He literally has a piece of cake the size of 2 slices of New York pizza.
Holding it with fingers?
No, he's just got a plate.
Okay.
And the plate is so small.
Yeah.
It's a cake plate.
Yeah.
With the equivalent of what would be 4 normal sized pieces of cake on. I'm like, what's going on, Tim? He's like, I'm experimenting with something. And I'm like, eating 4 pieces of cake? Is that the experiment?
Yeah, I know.
He's like, well, no, technically what I've done is I've been on
overloading
ketosis.
my like insulin reactors.
No, he's been on ketosis and now I've been worked out and I just did a workout. I'm going to eat the 4 pieces of cake and then I'm going to work it again and then I'm going to check my blood sugar. And I was like, why don't you just eat like half a piece of cake?
This is exhausting.
It's exhausting,
everything,
Tim.
what happened to everything in moderation, Tim?
No, I love Tim Ferriss because I think, you know what, the great thing about Tim is like everybody thinks like Tim has it figured out, right? He's the figured out guy. Like you buy his books because he'll figure it out.
Right.
And the truth about Tim is he doesn't have it figured out. He is searching. He is a searcher.
Eternally will be too.
Exactly.
He'll never figure it out.
And I told him this and he said, it's interesting, Jason, nobody ever gets that. I'm always looking, trying to figure these things out. And everybody thinks I've got it figured out. I don't have it figured out. I'm just searching and searching and trying to find the answers. And so we have this running joke, which I say, who is Tim Ferriss? And he says, exactly. Exactly.
You'll never know.
Exactly. We know who Brit is, though.
I'm
all
too
right. Well, listen.
I need to be more like Tim.
Give my regards to your spouse and let him know that if he ever decides to go back to work, I would love to catch up with him. But
Yes,
I mean, he's
I
like stay-at-home dad, right?
He's got some stuff brewing right now.
He does?
Actually.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Ooh.
you should chat with him soon.
Oh, yum, yum. Yum, yum for J-Cow. Maybe I could throw a little hundy in here.
Yeah. It's my teaser for you.
I like it.
As we exit the show.
No, it's good for me because you know what? That's the kid to bet on.
Yeah.
I bet on that kid all day long.
He's awesome.
Oh, you made a bet. It's working out.
I made a pretty good bet.
Yeah, you made a pretty good bet.
We're a good yin and yang, though, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'd ever started coming together, but maybe.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Well, is it that you're more type A and he's a little more
He's the idea visionary, crazy designer, thinker, amazing
Does that mean
mind.
like you set up like the schedule for the weekend and he's just...
Everything. I'm CFO. We actually have titles in the household.
Oh,
so
really?
I'm CEO and CFO and COO.
He's chief product officer?
Yeah, like chief creative officer, design officer.
Got it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And how are you doing managing being a mom with being the CEO?
I say that I have 2 kids at home and 106 at work. 3 kids at home and 106 at work.
But you can balance it, right? It's not impossible.
No. It's true. The thing about making you more focused priorities. Yes. I'm at the door at 5 in the office.
Yeah.
I hang out with my kids for like 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
But I'm doing 98% of my life is work and kids. So
you know what's interesting?
My social life is not so hot right now.
If you're a man and you say, I spend 3 hours a day with my kids, we're like, oh my God, that's so great.
I know.
And then when a woman says, the other woman looks at them like, you don't spend 18 hours a day with your kids? And I was trying to talk to my wife about this. I was talking to Jade and I said, you know what, you're spending like 10 hours a day with the kids.
Yeah.
You know, and now you start taking she's taking some courses on some interesting things and she's having fun and she's had a little bit of guilt about like, hey, I'm out of the house for 4 hours doing this thing. I'm like,
quality.
That's good.
Quality over quantity.
Of course.
When I'm with my kids, I am with my kids. I throw my phone away. I am on the ground rolling around with them like it's me and my kids. And that's okay. If it's 2 hours a day instead of 3, whatever. I travel all the time. I'm gone a lot. Like that time is so meaningful. So
it's also important for kids to see their parents doing productive stuff in the world.
Ansel loves to visit Brit Co. Brit Co. He calls in.
How old is Ansel now?
He's 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
Oh wow, you're about to go into the great age.
I've got a 1 and a 2. It's the next year of my life. I'm not going to remember. I've decided. So
when they are out of diapers and they know what they want to eat and they like to go out and they can go out for 6 hours at a time and it's not like torturous.
Naps and diapers. Yeah.
Yeah. When you get out of the naps and that was to me like the greatest.
Really, I heard
London.
4. I heard 4 is the glory.
I think for boys it's 4, and for girls it's right around 3. I basically will be candid. When they stop shitting their pants, it's great. When they're not in diapers.
Problem is, I have a 1-year-old, so this is not going to be. There's no light at the end of the tunnel right now. Yeah.
All right. Thanks again, Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie, for making the show exceptional, and see you all next time. Bye bye.